Thank you very much to being here, especially to Diane organizing such a kind of event. It's a pleasure for me to be here for twice. More and more I'm visiting your country. It's really fantastic, especially this place. I love skiing, so most probably this could be my vacation place to come. My name is Tomas Dovrtel. It's a little bit complicated to pronounce. I'm coming from Czech Republic. And I'm working for Sterimed 10 years, and I would like to speak what we do, maybe to give you some options, opportunities, because there have been since morning some nice team to discuss, like SBS and maybe aseptic presentations, and also there have been discussion what is good for which kind of sterilization. So we can go through this, and hopefully you will have some questions, and I would be very happy to answer them. I will be here until tonight. So anywhere in the corridor or even after presentation, feel free to ask. Every question is a good question. So agenda for today, I will try to introduce what we do. This will be very quick. I know it's always a boring part, so I will do it quickly. I want to speak about bacterial barrier, how it works, what could be the properties, and how to, in your case, put it together. What could be wrapping solutions, and at the end of the presentation, I have some real tests, what we done in hospital. As far as I know, Dejan will translate, or DND will translate this presentation in Serbian, so you should receive it afterwards. So let's start with some boring facts, what we do. So we are a 100% dedicated company for packaging. So everything what we do is for medical industry. What is most important, or some kind nice of figure, is that every fourth medical device on the world is wrapped or packed in our material. So most probably you're using on a daily basis our material, and you don't even know it in reality. We have a factory in France, and we have a sheeting facility in Czech Republic, in the US, and in China for different markets. So I'm going to a little bit underline the same what Irina said in the morning, and because I do believe it's quite important. You know it maybe better than me, because you're working in a hospital every day, and it's tough to work in a bank of microorganisms, because in reality hospital is like that. Every day you have people coming in and out, and as you see, there is a pretty much big number of people who are like infected or suffering due to nosocomial infections. It's in developed countries, you have like 5 to 10 patients which can be infected by that, and there's a pretty much high number in death people a year, and even the costs are high. I know you're working in a CSSD, and everybody will say, yeah, it's only CSSD, but this is something which is important because you are part of it. Andrew said it, and also everybody who was in front of me is like a circle. Every part of it is very important, as well as your part, because even like best surgeon on the world will be not able to provide the perfect operation with the dirty instruments, because sterilized dirt is still dirt. So this is something which is important. Okay, what could be barrier and how it works? What you want to have is when you have your instruments, you want to pack them in something, or wrap them, or you put it in something. We are here. You are lucky because we have 3 possibilities in this room. We have wrapping material, we have pouches and reels, and following my presentation, I guess there is Italian company who making containers. So this is like most used options in the hospitals, and it's very hard to differentiate which is the good or bad, because every hospital works in different manners. And in most hospitals, normally, you will have a mixture of all the options, depending on your daily work and daily basis of what you want to reach. So anything what you're going to use need to have, or need to provide you something called sterile barrier system. As Max said, It's coming from the norms, and it's like a mantra for sterilization departments. It's Norm 11607 Part 1, and we can speak about it all day long and repeat it, but it's really important. And in this norm, the sterile barrier system is clearly described. And it's gonna say that sterile barrier system is a minimum packaging which gives you opportunity to have an aseptic presentation at the end of the day. What it means? It means that if you want to wrap your instruments or pack them, you have to be sure that the instruments will arrive sterile at the operation room. It sounds easy, but in between times you have a lot of steps which can make it a little bit more complicated at the end of the day. So what barrier requirements should be? It definitely has to allow a steam or different kind of sterilization method you use to go in to kill the bacteria and sterile the instruments. It has to be definitely porous because all the steam has to go out, as we saw in a new presentations, and it has to give you a protection, most probably, because if you manipulate with the material, you're gonna have a transportation. So all these things where you have a pinhole, or if the material is teared, it means that you need to reprocess. Reprocess means waste of time. I'm sure you're facing time pressure because surgeons can shout on you quickly, and in stress it can be even worse. So the main goal is to give a bacterial barrier plus protection, which leads to sterile barrier system. And at the end of the life cycle of the pack, it should arrive very sterile in the operation room. To choose the right material, this could be a tricky question. Before I start presentation, there was one lady asking what should be used for what. So generally speaking, first question you should need to answer is what kind of sterilization method I'm going to use. You could, not sure, I think here in Serbia, you're using mainly steam. You can have a HTO2 or plasma sterilization. Maybe time to time you can have a hot air, or maybe formaldehyde, depending how you work, or maybe ETO, as Heva has in his CSSD. So this is the first question, in which I'm going to sterilize. Answer is quite simple, I would say, because normally all cellulose-based products, which mean like crepe paper, reinforced or non-woven products, are not suitable for plasma. Or vice versa, SMS kind of product, which is 100% plastic, was originally designed for plasma sterilization as well as Tyvek, for example. So normally, plastic material or plastic kind of packaging is very suitable for plasma sterilization. You can wrap materials in a crepe paper, put it in plasma, but unfortunately it will break the first rule because the HTO2 will never penetrate through, and the instruments will be not sterile. So this is one simple question you need to answer. Then it's going to be a little bit tricky, because this is going to a little bit on your shoulders, because you have to decide what kind of risk you have in between the manipulation, sterilization, storage, and opening it in operation theater. For that, it's a very simple chart, I would say. So if you have something very small or not so bulky, you can easily use, and if I remember well, there was also one important key feature of it, that you should be able to afford it. So most probably, you need to choose the right material to right purposes. So if you have something very small, you can go easily for crepe paper, which is, let's say, most cheapest alternative what you have. But obviously, if you go for something like orthopedic trays, then you know how it works. I'm 100% sure that you don't lifting the heavy trays, that you like pulling it on the table, etc. So this creates the risks you can face in the CSSD, and you can face the risk of tearing of the material. Then is the manipulation. I've been in a few hospitals in Serbia, and my experiences, maybe it's not same everywhere, but my experience is that CSSDs here are very, very close to operating theater. Is that right or not? I see like some shaking heads, like it is true. So in your reality or in your daily life, most probably, you have not so many transport because, for example, in big hospitals which have a different building, so you have a one CSSD, unfortunately, somewhere hidden in the cellar, and you have to transport everything in different buildings, and then you have to think, okay, it will go in containers, in other big containers, in trolleys, go there and there. So most probably I will need to use something very strong to protect it, and something maybe like 3 layers too, depending on stress on the pack. If you have it very close, like maybe you have it in your CSSDs, then you can make your own risk analysis. I know it's a terrible formulation, risk analysis, but you just put together the risk which can happen, and you will see, yes, if I'm going to make 2 steps with my pack and I go to the operation theater, maybe I don't need to overuse the packaging, which coming back to best practices. And of course, the weight of the packs makes the big difference. In a shortcut, in a nutshell, you choosing the material I put it in other words, it will be too complicated. Less synthetic material you have in the product, you will have weaker material. So SMS could be considered like a very heavy material, which is like very strong. Lead non-woven 2, it's more for heavy trays. Reinforced will be for medium-sized packs, and crepe paper going to be for like very small sets. Funny part is that crepe paper, in reality, is the best material for bacterial properties. Out of these 4, it will be always the best because of the structure, how it is manufactured. Because more synthetic material put in, the more you like a little bit distract the fibers, which leads to the fact that non-woven materials are not that good in bacterial properties. Fortunate is also the cheapest one. Unfortunate is a kind of weak material, because if you're going to put something big in it, it's going to be like very heavy, it can starting to tear, and on the top of it, it will be very hard to wrap. Normally, I don't know exactly your reality in the hospitals, but I guess that you're using a little bit of linen there and there, or textile, to wrap the instruments and put it in the containers. So the material, which will be very close to linen, could be SMS, because you will have the same feeling of the material and the same habits you have with the linen, because with linen you can work like roughly, and you are not afraid about the tearings. So once more, we as a manufacturer or distributors can give you advices or options or kind of opportunities, and at the end of the day you will have to decide what reflects your reality and your daily job. Yeah, coming to the bonded products. In and aseptic presentation, I think is a quite important point. Normally, to be able to have an aseptic presentation, you should have 2-layer systems. Doesn't matter if you're going to have 2 layers of paper, if you're going to have 2 pouches, if you're going to use container because you have heavy things and maybe manufacturer asking for it, but you have to have 2 layers. If you have a container, most probably to have 2 layers, you will need to put one layer inside, because container is quite nice, solid. It looks very safe because it's metallic, etc. But it's a 1 layer. It's a 1 solid layer, but still it's a 1. When you go for pouches, it's the same thing. I'm sure Max will confirm that if you want to have aseptic presentation, then you have a 2-layer system when you're opening the 1 pouch and the second one on the OR, to be like 100% sure that what you sterile and your people waste. They're doing their job on daily basis. They just do not waste the time delivering something bad. Same thing for the wrapping material. 2 sheets are necessary. we tried to develop something which is going to help you in wrapping techniques and to bring something more innovative. The idea is to put together two materials which are providing the best from the both. So we developed bonded material, which means you have two sheets in one. You can see it afterwards on a booth if needed to be. And we combining cellulose and SMS-based product. And we combining SMS and SMS. Why we do so? Most probably, you're going to save some time. We are as you do not wrap twice, you wrap only once, then 50% of your time is off. It's quicker. And coming back to the wet packs, this topic's been a little bit touched by Andrew before, and also by Max. It is a little bit problem because it's been said many times. More stainless steel you put in a sterilizer, more condensation you have. Question is how to get rid of the moisture and how to avoid water. Bacteria, fungi, or whatsoever, they love to travel, and the best highway how to travel for them is in the wet or moisture environment. So anything which is wet is kind of, it should be considered as contaminated, and once more you need to reprocess, and reprocess is a nightmare, especially if you are under pressure. So how we avoid wet packs? First should be maybe to follow the autoclave manufacturers who are saying how many stainless steel you can put in. If you are under pressure, maybe you overload it, so then you have to think about the wrapping methods. Because, for example, 2 layers of SMS will definitely bring you wet packs, mainly because SMS as a material is just not breathable enough. So most probably you will need to combine it together with cellulose base, which is much better in a steam. Or you can use kind of absorbent layers which will protect the instruments and also absorb the residue of the water which could cause you troubles. With bonded, we try to combine like SMS and cellulose-based products which helping you to avoid such an issue. I'm sure you experienced that, and it's just maybe not everyone paying that much attention to that, but it's like with the nosocomial infection. I visited many hospitals, and speaking with a different epidemiologist, is a terrible word, sorry, and when they told me that I have 0 nosocomial infection in the hospital, I'm like, okay, maybe you should think what it is in reality. And this is the same with the wet packs. I'm sure that maybe time to time we experience that, and it's better to avoid. So the reason also to put together cellulose-based and SMS product, it can be in a duo, which we'll try to introduce. It can be in the interleaf if you want to go more in an old-fashioned way. But one way or the other, we're trying to put together best from the both. So you can have a strength of the SMS, and you can have a fantastic properties of cellulose-based products. Okay, coming back to the shelf life study, it's also time to time a question, and I remember last year there was also a question. So as well as AMCO make a study in Lille, we did the same with Christine Denis, and I want to point it out what the shelf life is, because I don't want for you to mix it together with something else. What we do, and even like what in Lille, the test been done, even we have our own test from independent laboratories, it's called even related shelf life, which means that the test been done on some certain conditions. In reality, if I'm going to test my material with a third party, laboratory. I'm going to send it to them. They have their own CSSD, they have their own laboratories, etc., etc. And in this environment, under certain conditions, we are able to say that whatever was there and is still sterile, it could be up to, I don't know, half a year, depending on the needs or what you're asking for, but it will be under certain condition. Same in a Lille. If Christine Denis made for us a study of our products, we can say that it's been done under certain conditions. Our matter, I'm sure that even Amco matter, they are able to guarantee at least half a year event shelf life, which means that after sterilization, your storage and warehouse should have some parameters. It's if I will sterile it and put it in my closet at office, most probably it will be not sterile for the same period. So what we done in Lille is pretty much similar what Amco did. We put together some sets. We try to figure it out which are like more risky one, which are smaller, and we put together some amount. We wrap it in the duo material because this was the purpose of the set. We used an envelope method, which you could see on the video before we start with the presentation. Normally is the one of the most recommended method because it gives you the best protection for the instruments and during the packaging, because it will gives you better barrier in terms of penetration of microorganism or dust. So we use that for small and let's say big trays. Afterwards, we have to grow the microorganisms and prepare them. I'm not going to read it. I'm sorry, it's a little bit complicated for me. I'm not a pharmacist, but this is what will be done. We grow this kind of microorganisms on clamps we put in each tray. So we've been able to see if there is some growth or not. Obviously, if there is some growth, we've got a problem because it's not sterile. If there is no growth, okay, it's fine. At the end of the day, we used this cycle, okay, 134, discussed many times. It's a specialty for France and Swiss because of the prions, and they want to like overkill all the bacteria over there. The transportation being by road, because the CSSD is big and they need to transport the trays there and there. There is a lift, there is a storage, and they handle it every week, like simulates that you're gonna put it there, you're gonna move it there based on your needs. And afterwards, when you open it, there will be no growth. So we did it like in a half year and in 1 year. And the result being that if you wrap our materials in a duo material, you will have up to 1 year sterility maintenance, or let's say shelf life of the material. Once more, I don't know how it is in Serbia. This could be discussed because it depends on the countries, and normally in every country they have a special regulation for how long you can keep the instruments. And normally in CSSD you have a lot of circulation of the instruments, so most probably if you have something for 1 year, it's a really, really long time for me. Yeah, I already said what is here on this slide, and I just missed one thing, and it's a different kind of colors. Because if you will have like 2 colors of material, doesn't matter if it is blue, white, white. It's very hard for you to figure it out if there is some defect, because it's kind of your responsibility to check every material you're using in your CSSD, including wraps, including filters for containers, including pouches and reels that there are no pinholes and everything. So always where you have 2 different colors, it's better to recognize. Yeah, thank you very much for attention. And feel free to ask for anything.